going on with the Truckers? Welcome to the Asian Mind Show. We're hanging out today with our guests. They came in the Mecca Chrome Shop at the 595. Introduce your guys.
My name is Gregory Harris.
I'm Amber Harris.
Hey, that's what's up, me and Miguel, my co-host here, Miguel Cruz, we were talking to them off camera. Maybe talk a little bit about your situation and your story.
Basically, it all started when I was a child. I was actually an addict before I even knew what an addict was. Started out with alcohol, and that was just due to a really, really rough childhood. Mom and dad was always fighting. It was never a stable home. So I did what I seen my dad do to help out with his problems. I started drinking. I started slipping beer behind his back.
Was Dad a trucker?
No.
Okay.
No, he was kind of a jack of all trades,
Okay.
but a pro alcoholic. So he says. So, but and then into my teenage years, my aunt and uncle got custody of me. A lot of issues in school because I was very poor. So I wore hand-me-down clothes and everything. So that kind of escalated into other.
Where'd you grow up?
Where'd
you grow up?
Lake City, Florida. Been there all my life. But I got through high school, dipping into all the drugs. Yeah, I mean, if you name it, I've probably done it. The only one I have not touched and will never do is heroin. I've seen a lot of people, die, witnessed people that died on all the drugs. And I've been in every situation imaginable to man with drugs.
Keep on talking, brother. I'm gonna move my screen.
So, after high school, I joined the Corps. Went to the Corps. 9/11 happened when I was sitting in my third phase of boot camp, and that was a very, very scary moment at the time. I was still a kid. Went overseas, served about 8 months overseas. Come home, PTSD set in before we even knew what it was. Started drinking and fighting on base, and got kicked out of the Corps. Come home. And that's when my addiction skyrocketed. I related to methamphetamine only because it took me out of reality. I didn't think about anything. I didn't hear no voices, no screams, no cries. I didn't see anything. I didn't have nightmares, night terrors, flashbacks, none of that, because I never went to sleep. As long as I've stayed up, it was almost 24 days.
Wow.
And I was down to, believe it or not, I think it's a record, but I was down to 87 pounds at one point in my addiction.
Wow.
So, about 45 days ago, I decided to get sober. And so I called a sponsor that just happened to pop up a friend's request on Facebook. Never met the guy in my life. And he helped me get into detox at Aspire in Albany, Georgia. And then from there, I went to the Phoenix in Thomasville, Georgia. And I didn't complete the inpatient due to the trucking job I got now. My boss is very supportive of me, and I'm finally gaining a relationship with my family and stuff back. I mean, I was hooked on drugs for 20 years, and I mean, if I can get off of it and not look back, my motto is God's got her six.
Wow.
You should definitely give a shout out to your boss.
Hey, shout out to the boss, man.
Appreciate
His
it.
name's Todd McMillan with State to State Transportation.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what's up.
Real good guy, man. He waited on me through rehab and everything, and he's real supportive and checks on me every day.
Wow.
He's probably blowing our phone up right now, wondering why we're sitting.
Wow. He helped you
because
get
we're
your
in
CDL
Florida.
too, or what now?
No, I
Good
got my
time.
CDLs in
Give him a break,
2011.
Tom. He's on the Asian My Show. Give him a chance. Give him a chance.
In 2011 was my first attempt for sobriety. I went to Salt Lake City, Utah, and obtained my CDL through Central Refrigerated Transportation. Had an awesome CDL school. As far as the company, though, everybody's got their own opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get into that, but money wasn't great, so I come home and I related it back to tree work. I'm an arborist by trade. I can climb, I can run a bucket, if it involves tree work, I can run it, I can climb it, I can cut it, I can throw it, and I can move it.
No, I got a big question for you, brother.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of truck drivers out there, and they got a lot of vices, and they're all addictive. When you woke up one day and you said, hey, I want to be sober. I mean, what really made you want to just do that? And maybe there's some things from that other people can learn from it.
There was actually the few moments that I'd been sober in my last relapse that, home really hit home, which wasn't home. Like I was all alone in this big, huge, dark world. I didn't have no friends. My family done alienated me. Tough love. But at the time, I blamed everybody else for the issues that was going on. And I mean, in the end, it's just all our personal fault. We decided to make the choice to become an addict. Even though it is a disease, we choose to feed that disease every time. We choose to put that drug or that substance, or, we choose to fornicate or go to casino and spend a whole paycheck, or, even as simple as, just sitting around doing absolutely nothing. And what helped me a lot was information that I obtained in Aspire at the Detox. There was a great guy there. He had been in the drug game, running, using, dealing, gang banging and everything for over 40 years. And he's 16 years sober, and he's one of the head counselors at Aspire. And he made a little statement. He asked me like a little riddle. It was like, you got 3 birds on a power line. 2 of them decide to fly off. How many birds do you have left? Y'all know?
Yeah, 1.
No. There's still 3 birds on the line. They decided to fly, but they didn't act on the decision.
Okay.
So with that being said, as addicts, we decide to go use before we actually use. So we have time to correct that decision before we fall back in that routine. So, I mean, every time I have a weak moment, a lot of times I look at my wife, or I pick my phone up and I look at the pictures of my kids. I'm getting the relationship back with my children. Me and her have teenage daughter together, and
Wow. Now, I hate to ask this, but how long you guys been together?
We've been together for June will be 3 years, but we've known each other for almost 20, and our daughter 17. She just turned 17.
Okay, so you guys really known each other for a long time.
Yeah, he was my first love.
So you guys back together. So I mean, she must have been a big support system.
Yes, even when I thought she wasn't.
Wow.
I was. I chose drugs even over my marriage. I took her to her sister's house, dropped her off, and went right back to using. And that lasted 6 months. And, when I decided to get sober, I told her, I asked her to come home. And at the time, she was in another relationship. And, which was no better than a relationship me and her had, because there was still active use. She was sober.
Not on my part.
And the biggest thing between me and my wife is when we first got together this last time before we got married, I put her in a position to make a choice between using or walking away. Considering the fact that I was her first love, and we were together, put her in between a rock and a hard spot. So I blamed myself for that, and then my addiction skyrocketed even more. I started using more, beating myself up more, and blaming myself for that. But I was using the drug as an excuse to not have to face the consequences of all the bad decisions that I've made in my life. And it's been like that for 20 years. And but since I've been to rehab, I've faced a lot of situations that I've been putting off for years. And the first step to recovery is admit it. Which means you got to admit to yourself that you have a problem, and then you admit to others that you have that same problem. And as soon as you do that, it's like a sense of freedom. It's like a weight lifted off your shoulders, And spirituality is really, really big in my life now. I was always not really anti-Christ, more like I just didn't know what or who to believe in. Because of all the bad that I created due to certain events in my life that I chose to push away or just never fix. I always blame somebody else. Nothing was ever my fault. And now if I do something wrong, I'm the first one to tell you, hey, I screwed up. There's no sense in lying. There's no sense in hiding addiction.
Hey, man, hearing all this, man, I'm proud of you, brother.
You drive OTR, right? You drive over the road.
Right.
Do you feel like it's easier to stay sober over the road since you are going different places? You don't know somebody in some of these places. Think it's easier being over the road than being stationed in one place?
Yes and no. I mean, it's very stressful truck driving, obviously. You know, traffic, shippers, receivers, brokers.
Sometimes that stress triggers.
Not really triggers. It's just you know, it kind of gets me on the track that I was on before I acted on the active addiction. You know, like, so I catch myself now because I know the signs before they get too bad. You know, I know how to back up and say, okay, no, dummy, you don't want to do that. You know, and the way I treat others has a big impact on, you know, whether I feel the urge to go use it or not. You know, I mean, if I treat somebody like crap, then obviously I'm gonna feel bad about myself. Sure. Especially as the man I've grown into now within these last 30, 45 days. I look back on how I treated people, and you know, I think it was a way of, you know, self-mutilation, really. Is I mean, that's all we're doing, is we're just killing ourselves, and a lot of us don't even realize it until it's too late. You know, I mean, like I said, I was 87 pounds at one point in time in my life.
You know, so how many months have you been clean?
45 days.
Hey, 45 days, man. Hey, how do you feel right now at this moment, man? Having your family back, having your wife with you. How do you feel at this moment,
Hey,
man?
blessed.
I feel blessed,
because
yeah.
45 days to have all of that back. And,
Yes.
You know, you do all this stuff and you lose it over time, and then to have it back in 45 days, that's.
Well, you know, they say it
that's
takes
not too
1
bad.
second to lose everything, and it takes a lifetime to gain it
Sure,
back.
sure.
You know, and I'm a firm believer in that, because I mean, like, anybody else out there that's still active in their addiction, you know, I mean, you just got to take a step back, you know, like, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself if you're proud of who you are today, you know, and if your first thought's no, then ask yourself, what can I do to make me feel better about myself? You know, because before we can start helping our family, our wife, our children, and guide them in the right direction and support them and have a foundation for them, we got to build one for ourselves. You know, I mean, if we're broken, how are you going to fix them? You know, I mean, you're already broken, so I mean, you can't take two broken vehicles and make them work. Sure. You know, especially if they got the same issue. You know, I mean, really, my spirituality is really what got me through a lot of this until my wife come back into my life. You know, and I mean, we say the Serenity Prayer twice a day, every day. You know,
It's beautiful.
And
What goals do you have now? You have any goals in mind? Like, you know, trucking is trucking the future for you? Do you feel like trucking's your future, or
I
you got
absolutely
something else in
love
mind?
trucking, especially the mountains. You know, because I mean, that's really inspirational to me to look out my windshield and see that God has created this beautiful place for us to live, and then for us to destroy what He created and not, you know, cherish anything, you know, that He's given us. As you know, now I look out my windshield going down the mountains, and I'm like, man, that's beautiful. You know, used to, I'm like, you know, I need to go cut that tree down. You know?
Hey, you know, I'm looking at your wife, man. She looks pretty damn proud of you, brother.
Yeah.
I am. I'm very proud of him because I've been addicted to methamphetamine since 2017, and I have mental issues. Anyways, I'm bipolar, and I have paranoid schizophrenia and anxiety, and it really messed me up. I mean, I was thinking he was cheating on me, laying in the bed next to me. It was bad. It was pretty bad. I actually tried to commit suicide.
Oh no.
In 2017, I almost succeeded. If it wasn't for me going to try to pick up my daughter and passing out at the Holiday Inn, I would have died. And I got sober after a little while after that, and then we split up in June of 2018 due to a disagreement, and I relapsed. And then after that, we got back together and we continued to use. We went to South Carolina, continued to use, and then he made the decision it was time for me, because it was getting to a point where I was getting suicidal again. So he dropped me off at my sister. He made the choice to drop me off at my sister's, and I thought at the time he was just trying to throw me away, and he didn't want to deal with me anymore. And I did. I moved on, and that guy wasn't. He was worse, very worse. He was still in active addiction. I'm 201 days sober.
Good for
So
you.
Wow. Hey, I'm telling you, it's one of those things. I've never been through it, but I'm super proud of y'all, man.
So hold on, just to be clear, when you dropped her off, you made a decision that it was time for her to come.
I got tired of looking at her and seeing all the pain and the hurt and the disappointment in me through her. Because I'm a Scorpio, so I read people fairly well. I'm a firm believer in stuff like that, and she can never lie to me. She'll tell me nothing's wrong, and I'll be like, okay, for real, tell me what's wrong,
He's not.
And it ticks her off. It really makes her mad.
Yeah.
But I got tired of seeing what I was doing to this monster that I created, and I kept on feeding this monster, with more drugs and more excuses and more you're going crazy and you're stupid, you're this, you're that, you're that. No, this ain't going on. Well, I got to do this because I can't deal without it, or you don't need new clothes, but I need to go out and get more drugs, So and it was like that for like 2.5 years, and I neglected my children. I'm not ashamed to say it, now. But then, I've taken my kids' Christmas presents back to go get drugs, after they opened it, So, and then I would lie to them about where it went, And, now that I'm sober and I can admit that I was wrong, instead of coming up with excuses as to why I was right to do it.
Sure.
Oh, well, if I hadn't went and got my drugs, then I probably would have flipped out on my kids or my wife, which is stupid. It really is. It's just an excuse to make us personally feel better about going and using every time we do, because every single time before we walk out the door or we get behind the wheel or we walk around the block, to go get whatever, to alter our mind state, we always have an excuse either for ourselves or for someone else is asking, why you continue to do this? Well, I can't stop. Okay, there's no such word as can. I used to tell her and my kids that all the time. There's no such word as can. And I had a guy with the tree company I used to work for, and he says, man, if there's no such word as can, then why have you been stuck for so many years?
It's a good question.
And I'm like, well, maybe that's why nobody's listening to me. For real, I'm preaching a good word, but who's going to listen to the devil preaching the word of God?
And think about
what I'm saying?
You cared enough about her to let her know, hey, you need to straighten up. But you didn't care enough about yourself to say, hey, we need to straighten up.
Well,
at that moment.
Before I left her at her sister's, I told her, I said, you fix you, I got to fix me.
You felt like it was tougher together?
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
At the time, yes.
We
because
were both
she
actively
was.
Using.
Sure.
Yeah, she still is a firecracker.
No one can be the voice of reason.
Yeah, and I'm a very short. I was a very short, ill-tempered person, and you could look at me and I would flip, I would go off, and that was to anybody, even out in public.
Sure.
Somebody look at me the wrong way. What the fuck are you looking at? I would just go psychotic. So I didn't go anywhere. I secluded myself to 4 walls in my bedroom, which is no different than prison. It's imprisoning myself. And now that I'm sober and I look back on that, I'm like, it's kind of a blessing that God give me enough strength to at least imprison myself, or
Sure.
There's no telling how many people I probably would have killed, or brung down with me. So my addiction pretty much stayed with me until me and her got together and she called me, and that's how it was presented, And then I lied to her about what it was, So she was like, "Oh well, that's not so bad."
I knew. I kind of knew what he was dabbling in, because my uncle was a truck driver. God rest his soul. He died in 2008, a motorcycle accident, and he was really bad on drugs, bad. And I kind of seen him spiral downwards, and I always told myself I wouldn't go down that path. And me being with him, and I just thought that it would make our relationship better if we did it together.
So he started using first, and then you started doing it in a sense to support.
Yeah, I had been using.
So you've been using.
Yeah, I'd been
Okay.
using since
He was
like
doing it.
2002.
We got together. He did it for about 4 months behind my back before I found out.
Mm.
And then when I found out, I was like, well, if you're gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. You know, so that's the way it went, and it got.
And then that took me off though, because I was like, no, you're not gonna catch me like this. No. So it really took me off, and then I started coming up with every excuse in the book as to why she just needs to stay out of my business.
Mm.
You know, well, you're in my house, we're together. You know, so I'm like, I don't give a crap. You know,
Yeah.
my business is my business.
Sure.
Do not overstep your boundaries. You know, which I was involved in some other issues. You know, that it was putting everybody around me in jeopardy. You know, also, so I had to exclude that part of my life also, and I did all that within these 45 days. You know,
Man.
I just pretty much I cut ties with everybody you associate with for the last 20 years. I mean, unless they were the ones trying to actually help me. You know, and I had no friends for 20 years. I didn't have no friends. You know, I just thought they were friends. I mean, if I didn't have dope for them, or if I didn't have no money to go get dope, I didn't see them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that
usually
was
how it
pretty
is.
much the way I lived for 20 years. You know, I lived in a cocoon,
Hmm.
and it sucked. So like right now, it's a little stressful because I'm still trying to learn the new me. You know, like every day I learn something else about me.
Well, I
Yeah.
like the new you.
I love
don't.
the new
I don't know the
you. I
old
love
you,
the
but I
new
like
you.
the new you. You know.
Right.
You know, it's like we. You know, we definitely wish you the best.
Absolutely.
You know, listening to your story, I appreciate you so much because most people, it's very hard opening up your life story. So I really appreciate you guys for both doing that. I mean, I definitely want to give you guys, you know, the last words. Any shout outs or encouragements to anyone out here watching? I mean, you guys have the floor, you know.
Anybody watching that knows me, if y'all still using, man, go get help. But you gotta want it. You know, you gotta want it for yourself. Don't let nobody pressure you to go. You know, just it sucks being in that dark place. And that's all I gotta say. Good luck to everybody.
Mine would be, for one, to my husband for making that choice to take me to my sisters, to show me that it was time for me to mentally and physically get sober. And my kids, of course, who keep me sober.
I love it.
We have 6
Love it.
altogether.
Love
it.
Together.
I love it.
So, and also my sister, because right there in the beginning of my detox, she was the one there for me. She helped me through it and you know, talked to me, and then my grandparents, because they gave me tough love. And my dad, even though, you know, because my dad, even though he's an alcoholic, but he made that choice to marchman at me to get me to realize that I needed to get sober. So it would be my kids, my husband, and my family. And, you know, if you are active addict, the best thing you're ever going to do is to get sober, because your life is going to change dramatically. I mean, I've never seen snow, and I got to see snow for the first time. And we're going on a 4-day vacation to Gatlinburg, Tennessee this coming up weekend.
Nice,
And we
nice.
never got to do that before.
Hey, I love it.
Nice.
Hey, you know, good stuff, man.
Yeah. Real talk on the Asia My Show. Real talk.
Hey,
Real
we're
talk.
good. No, appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.